Leader.
I ask unanimous consent to proceed as if in morning business.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. President, I rise to call my colleagues' attention to a truly disturbing development in the health care debate. A colleague of ours has called for an investigation into a major health care company because this company informed its customers of its concerns about health care legislation that this colleague of ours introduced. Let me say that again. A colleague of ours has called for an investigation of a major health care company because this company disagreed with a bill our colleague introduced. As a result, the federal government has now told all companies that provide Medicare Advantage to stop communicating with their clients about the effects of that legislation. Let me say that again. The federal government has now told these companies to stop communicating with their clients about the effects of a piece of legislation that's before us, even telling them what they can and cannot post on their websites. This gag order, enforced through an agency of the federal government at the request of a senator, is wrong. It started when a company based in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, Humana, had the temerity, Mr. President, the temerity in the eyes of some of our colleagues to explain to its customers that if Medicare Advantage is cut, as the chairman's mark requires, it may reduce benefits, which of course is a common sense conclusion. Now, Mr. President, this is America, the United States of America. Citizens, either as individuals or grouped together in companies, have a fundamental right to talk about legislation they favor or oppose in this country. This is the core of the First Amendment's protections of speech. Unfortunately, this is part of a troubling trend of efforts to dismiss the concerns raised by the American people over the past few months. Over the summer, we saw American citizens who raised concerns about the health care proposals before Congress dismissed, utterly dismissed, as somehow un-American by leaders here in Congress. That's bad enough, but using the full weight of the federal government's enforcement powers to stifle free speech should trouble all Americans and all of us even more. We cannot allow government officials to target individuals or companies because they do not like what they say. The latest effort to squelch free speech raises several serious questions. Is this what we've come to as a country? That an individual or company can no longer factually advocate their position on an incredibly important public policy issue? Is this what we've come to in America, Mr. President? Shouldn't customers have a right to know the potential impact of a congressional action? Is this what we believe as a Senate? That this body should debate a $1 trillion health care bill that affects every single American while using the powerful arm of the government to shut down speech? Is this how citizens and companies can expect to be treated if health care reform passes? That any health provider that disagrees with a powerful senator will be subject to an investigation and a gag order for disagreeing with a powerful senator? How is this any different than the Washington Post and the New York Times have done in lobbying for a reporter shield law? Would we stand by if the Judiciary Committee asked the FBI to investigate the media for taking positions on pending legislation we don't agree with? Of course not. Of course not. Humana is headquartered in my hometown of Louisville, and yes, I care deeply about its 8,000 employees in Kentucky. But this gag order, Mr. President, this gag order now applies to all Medicare Advantage providers. Shut up, the government says. Don't communicate with your customers. Be quiet and get in line. I would remind my colleagues that I've spent a good part of my career defending the First Amendment rights of people to criticize their elected officials, including me. I would make the same argument if this were a company based in San Francisco or Helena, Montana, or Chicago. The right to free speech is at the core of our democracy. Free citizens have a First Amendment right to petition their government for redress of grievances. This gag order on companies like Humana and those in all our states, in my view, is a clear violation of that right, and it is wrong. Employers that warn their customers about the effects of legislation aren't the ones who should be getting warnings, Mr. President. They aren't the ones who ought to be getting warnings. Senators who threaten First Amendment rights are the ones who should be getting the warnings. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President, before the Republican leader leaves, I want to...
Oh, sir, from Tennessee.